All right, excited to kick off Gold Rush Week after being on the road a couple weeks and the travel and the heat, I guess, and the different environments. It'll be great to be back home come this Saturday and look forward to a great crowd here in Bobcat Stadium, for our first home game. Reflection on the game from Saturday night, not too different, I think, than we saw after the game. Defensively, really proud of the performance. When you don't give up a first down until the fourth quarter, I think that speaks volume of the execution, but really the effort was phenomenal. I really felt like we were flying around, and more than flying around, the effort was intentional. We were where we were supposed to be. We tackled well. Really made it hard on their quarterbacks to get in any kind of rhythm. And I think made a lot of plays on third down. They were 1 for 11 on third down at the end of it. We put our second unit in for a stretch, which was good for them, and they gave up a quick drive, a 3-play scoring drive. But I thought that group really did bounce back. A lot of time, a lot of those guys playing for the first time, and we'll ultimately need some of those guys to play roles as the season goes along. So to get that experience, to get a feel for what game speed is and game intensity and all that, regardless of what the scoreboard says, it was good for those guys to get out there. Offensively, we moved the ball fairly well all day. Ran into some issues with some inopportune penalties, and got ourselves behind the chains at times. Didn't anytime I think we were 2 of 5 red zone touchdowns. That's not a stat that bodes well for us. We need to be able to get down there, be methodical, all those things, but then cap drives off. We weren't able to do that at the clip that we would like. But I do think we responded in the third quarter well enough to keep that score moving in the right direction, open up a lead, and then like the defense, we got a bunch of guys out there to do some things in that fourth quarter, at least to get that first game experience. I know I spoke to the O-line depth. That's obviously a concern for us. I do think as we move into these next couple of weeks, we will get some guys back. But as far as getting any of those guys, and I'm referencing JT, Burke, obviously Justice Perkins. That's not going to happen this week. So we'll have to figure it out. I think there's a fair chance we'll get Connor Moore back out there. So obviously our offense starts with that group, and I think some guys have filled in admirably and all that. But ultimately get that group as close to full strength is still in front of us. Special teams wise, I know Taco Dollar in particular made a huge impact in the outcome of that game. But beyond Taco's performance, it's 10 other guys on that punt return team. I think he had 113 yards on 5 returns. That's significant, and two big ones that changed the field. So excited about the way we win as a team and put a lot of pieces together. Defense, I think by and large picked up the offense in that first half, and then I think third quarter we took control of the game on both sides of the football, and now we look forward to this next game. And in the University of Maine, we have a team out of the CAA coming out here that we don't know much about them necessarily. They do have a game under their belt, which is good now that we have a game like this where we have some recent history. A lot of their coaching staff is continuous from last year, so we can look at last year's film as well. I know they have, at a glance, they have a lot of experience. I think they have 27 guys, and they're 2 deep that are either listed as seniors or graduates. So that's significant. They were 2-9 last year, but I think it's still a team that averaged almost 24 points a game. A bunch of close losses in there, so you can see they're a team that's trending in the right direction. I think you look at their offensive and defensive lines. I think that's what jumps at you right away. An experienced quarterback who led Mercer to the playoffs last year. A familiar name, obviously, for us in the backfield, Jahari Martin, former Bobcat, led them in rushing his first game. And it looks like Jahari's found a home running the football, and I know a couple of receivers that have some real talent. So we're going to have another challenge in front of us, and obviously for us to continue to move forward, we have to find a way to improve come this Saturday, and that's what we aim to do as we get going this week.
Any other injury updates besides Connor?
That's the one significant one, I guess, out of the game. I know I mentioned Casey. I think we'll find out the next couple of days where he's at relative to his potential return. But otherwise, I think we got it was a grind of a game a little bit. It was a long game. I know players on both sides, I think we're cramping up. We had some of those instances. Obviously, Tommy's being the most concerning as it happened, but he was fine yesterday, and he'll be okay. And I think as we look at this game, I think the temps are going to be in the 80s again. Probably a little bit different type of heat, but we've played 2 games now in that kind of setting, and that does take its toll on you a little bit. So we've got to keep moving forward as far as building our depth. I think that's the biggest combatant to any of that.
You guys got some pressure in the first 2 games. Obviously, no sacks, which is kind of a rare for your teams. How do you kind of evaluate that part of the game?
Well, I think both games we've disrupted the quarterbacks. I think they were very much off their rhythm, in particular Deacon Hill. We hit him a few times. I think both offenses we've played have had they've been very intentional getting the ball out quick. There haven't been any long developing pass plays of any volume in these first couple games. And if we can disrupt them, if they're throwing incompletions, while we're not getting the last yardage, we're still doing doing what we want. A couple tip balls in that game. I know they had a pretty heavy screen game that I think we neutralized for the most part. So I know we are getting pressure. I know those guys, they want to tangibly rack up some sacks, and that'll come in time. But I do think, you look at these 2 games, our performance up front, while not flashy by any stretch with any kind of numbers, so to speak, we've been able to make people feel comfortable.
You spoke a bit post-game about Rowan's first touchdown as a Bobcat. Now he's going to be taking on his former university in Maine. Just what you've seen from him so far and what to expect on Saturday.
Yeah, I think continuing to make progress with his comfortability and all the things we're asking him to do. I think, in that game, you saw his athleticism and speed certainly flash on the touchdown. I thought he made a couple, catches in traffic at the same time. One in particular that was a bang play on, I think, a 3rd and 5. And he's continuing to find his way on the blocking side. I think all the things that he did when we watched him on film at Maine, we've accelerated the expectations for him. And that probably happens a little bit more on the blocking side and just the different types of things within that position that we're asking a guy to do as far as see defense, identify defense, and then make decisions on the fly. So, I don't know. I'm sure he, playing his old team, there'll be some emotions involved, but what we need Rohan to do is just continue to get better. I think his ceiling, we're far from it. I think that's the exciting thing, but he's making strides, and I think as we go along, we want him to be a big part of what we're trying to do offensively, and I think he's certainly flashed in that regard the first couple games.
Yeah. This is the first time in over 20 years where Montana State has had 2 road games to start the season. So just what is that excitement level? Like you spoke to it a bit, but to be back at home this week.
Yeah, you play them as they fall on the schedule, and I know looking at it with the early start to fall camp, we knew it would be a challenge, but to get beyond it, to get 2 wins under our belt has been great. To play in a couple different environments like we have, to test our guys, all those things. The anticipation for the first home game, wherever it fits, is always going to be high. I know having the students now and in school kind of in session full force, there's certainly a buzz around campus. I'm excited to see how fast those tickets go tomorrow when they open up for the students. And this game, I think well, the first of many sellouts, I guess, but the first one in having everybody in gold is a really unique thing for our university, for our football program. And while we've had good crowds in both places, both in Albuquerque and in St. George, to be in front of 20,000 plus that are all behind you, I think there's a whole nother energy that our guys look forward to. So excited for just the pageantry that it is a game day in Bozeman, with the tailgating and everything too. So, and it appears to be a real nice day. So excited to get an opportunity to show what we can do in front of our home fans.
On Saturday, you talked about a little bit of missed opportunities from Adam and Scottrey that you've kind of seen. Like, what was that result from, and how do they continue?
I think they both maybe had one in particular, and Adams was more of a stumble, and that was in the first half, one of those drives that we didn't continue on, and then Scottrey's was a miss on a third down in the third quarter that then led to a field goal opportunity. So, they're doing a really good job. They're running hard. They're seeing things, and I thought our offensive line, while not perfect, really came off the ball, and got a lot thrown at them. The credit to Utah Tech in the way they did things up front. They made it challenging at times, but 2 games in to have the production we've had out of 2 guys that are second year guys. Obviously, Scottrey played a bunch more as a sophomore now, but they're just still young guys and still learning the position, still getting the feel, and really feel good about what they've been able to show these first 2 weeks.
I guess kind of building off that, Adam was named to the National Freshman of the Week. I know you kind of talked about the conference award last time, but just any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think his performance, last week, for us was a big catalyst to us winning that game. And he certainly on that stage against the Mountain West team on national TV, looked the part and then performed well. And I think there was a lot that went into the big touchdown, the 93 yarder or whatever it was. But that play, I think was a game breaking play for us, and I think a well-deserved award when you kind of combine the way he's played over 2 weeks, I suppose. But anytime you get a national honor individually, it speaks volumes. But then I think it's a good pat on the back to the program as well.
Junior has a couple games under his belt now. I guess, what have you kind of seen the growth of him over the last year, now being able to, I guess, showcase on the field now?
Yeah, I know we didn't get too involved on Saturday night, and we got to keep working to get him opportunities. But I think he's flashed in a couple games. Like Rohan is a guy that is new to playing for us. We think has a lot of ability, has a lot of upside. Obviously playing within our offense and our scheme for the first time, for both those guys, I think they're finding their way. I know they're going to, I think speaking to Junior, I know he's going to be called on to be a playmaker. I would imagine at some point in time every week, and I think he's got that ability. So, really excited for him after missing out the previous year, and he's year 4 now, and he's had a rocky road to this point. Time spent at 3 programs, but I think he's found a home, and I think he really appreciates being part of our program and wants to make an impact.
On the first kick return, Taco was back there. I forget if he was the second one, but is that something that is permanent or?
Marquis went out to the second one, and I think just a little bit of a change up there. Whether we were going to get an opportunity or not, we didn't know, and we didn't. So I anticipate it could be either or, but ideally there's going to be a point in time when we do get a great opportunity and we can make the best of it. Not much has happened here these first couple games, and even looking back at the New Mexico game, it wasn't necessarily anything Marquis did good or bad. I think their ball placement was really good. The couple times we had a crack at it, and then obviously this past weekend the one that didn't go in the end zone, went out of bounds. So we had Taco out there the first time, but Marquis was out there the second time.
I know you kind of mentioned a little bit about Miles' misses. One might have come out low, and I guess anything that popped up on film from the field?
Yeah, the first one that got blocked, they did a good job. We didn't get a good piece of that edge rusher, and he didn't go down to block the ball, which the edge guys usually do. He kind of caught it up shoulder high, which was a good time and place for him. And I think then that second opportunity was shortly thereafter, and I still would contend he was too fast, and he just pulled it a little bit left. Fortunately, we were able to get him another opportunity later in the game, and that was probably the best kick of the day.
Talked a little bit about Maine's offense, but anything that stands out about their defense?
Well, I think 4 down in nature. I do feel like it starts up front for them. They appear to have a good front. Some really talented guys. You look at it, they don't have any honorees. I'm surprised, and that's one thing that jumps out. No preseason all conference guys, and that surprises me because I do think they have some good players, especially in their front seven. And they were tested last week. They had to make some plays, and they did that. And I think they're a team that to me looks principled in what they're trying to do. How they will defend us versus how they defended Colgate might be two different worlds a little bit, but I think the most impressive thing, like I said, was their front.
How refreshing is it to have a team that has some familiarity from last season and has a game under its belt to prepare for?
Yeah, I think it's after 2 weeks of guesswork, I do think we did a pretty good job with our research and our preparation for both teams. I do think that, but now to have a team where you feel like, okay, they got a game, we've had a chance to see that, we can work off of last year's video a little bit differently than we would have otherwise. I know new quarterback, I think that's a piece. He's got one game we're watching for of him playing for Maine, and he's got some ability, I think, both to throw it and to run it. So he would be the one piece that you do look a little bit back at what he did at Mercer, just to put a little bit more to his story, but ultimately, comforting to know that hey, at least we're dealing with things we know and see.
Coulter, do you have anything?
Yes, I do. Sorry, I was trying to mute myself. Hi, Coach.
Hi.
A couple from me. First of all, just big picture, being 2-0 after 2 road games. Very few teams in the country have even played 2 games. So just being 2-0 and knowing you have now a whole bunch of home games and some byes coming up, what's that do for you guys? This big picture.
Well, I think first off, you're trying to get as many wins by the end of the season as possible. The regular season, they all add up. All the Division I wins, wherever they're coming from, matter. And to have 2 under our belt, one being an FBS win, I think really excited about that. For what that's going to mean for us down the road, I suppose. I think we've learned quite a bit about our team through the first couple weeks. I think we've played extremely hard. I think that's the first thing that's jumped out. I thought we played, smart. Let's say it's smarter this past week, just with our angles and our pursuit and our leverage on defense, and maybe some of that has to do with some of the talent that New Mexico had at the same time. I know they had a good day offensively against Arizona, it looked like, but ultimately I think we've made strides on defense. I think the stretch of defense really going from halftime of the New Mexico game through the end of the third quarter, five quarters there, not allowing any points defensively. That's pretty significant, and I don't care who you're playing, to not allow them to get a first down through 3 quarters is impressive. And we want to play championship level defense, and we're not there. We're not there yet, but I think we've made some strides, and that's probably my biggest takeaway after a couple games. I know offensively, finding a rhythm and being able to make plays and call on some different guys, I think that's shown up through the first couple weeks. So progress and to be able to chalk up a couple wins before we've been home, I think pretty significant.
We talk about the evolution of stats and the way that they are used to analyze the game. It seems like sacks, the actual statistic of a sack, is harder to come by this day and age at all levels of football. So you have to sort of readjust, like you were mentioning. You guys are getting a ton of pressure on the quarterback.
Yeah, I think each game you just have to measure it based on what that game presents and how quickly is a team, getting the ball out. How intentional Are they about the number of screens they run? I think what you look at sometimes, that's probably a product of what they see on film. They know they're not going to hold up as well. A number of times in New Mexico, protected with Max Pro with 7 guys. I think that was significant in that game, and that's when they were going down the field more, they were protecting with a lot of guys. So I think we've affected the game plan maybe as much as anything these first couple of weeks, and I hope that teams continue to be let's say mindful of what we can do up front. I know this, we led the country in sacks last year. We didn't play great defense. So I don't know that we played good defense, but we didn't play, to my estimation, championship level defense. So that sack statistic is a tricky one sometimes. I know we have some guys that can really get after the quarterback when teams are going to be in that mode, and when that time comes, ideally we can put them down on the ground.
When it comes to Rohan and other guys that have played that position for you guys these last couple of years, it seems like that's a position that's evolved quite a bit as well. You just talk about that sort of like the H-back, tight end, fullback hybrid, and the way that's just influenced offenses across college football.
Yeah, I think we've been fortunate between Derek and Trayton before, to have versatile guys. I guess that's probably the biggest thing. It's a position, if you can get the right type of athlete that can do a lot of things, then you can get in 12 personnel, 2 tight ends, and you can look a lot of different ways. And I think the thing about our offense is we can really utilize them in the RPO game, and with the zone run concept, let's say, being able to bring those guys back and block the C gap, make that C gap defender miss and arc for the next defender, and then we have a run call, be able to make that C gap defender bypass him, and then have a pass, run pass option called. I think those are some of the unique things that his touchdown was an RPO. I think that more down the field, and where those opportunities maybe to catch those balls sometimes are unpredictable. Just the threat of all the different things we can do with a versatile guy like that is significant, and let alone being able to detach him like we did a couple times, and he can run a route like a receiver. He's got the speed and the quickness to be able to do some of the same things. So I think we were very deliberate trying to find someone like Rohan, and really pleased that we did. I think it was evident that we missed Derek significantly over the last half of the season last year, and to be able to find something along the same lines. I'm not anointing Rohan quite yet, but he's done some things. I'm sure he's shown some people that, hey, we got a real talent, again with a pretty high ceiling.
Because it is a position that takes versatility and sort of a certain type of guy, does that make it sort of easier to pinpoint the type of guy you want to recruit for that spot?
I think to know what we're looking for maybe, but to find them I think is challenging, because maybe to some degree guys aren't being used that way at the high school level. I know there were some things that on his college film at Maine that certainly intrigued us, that was crossover. So generally speaking, a guy like that probably isn't playing that type of position in high school. And in Rohan's case, in Derek's case, they were more running back, receiver types in high school. So, I think you look for a bigger bodied guy that maybe doesn't have the 6'4", 6'5" frame, because if he did that, he might find himself somewhere else. I know Lubens Valson is the one that we brought in as a true freshman this year, and Lubens was primarily a receiver and an outside linebacker, but did get some opportunities to carry the ball, to run routes, to show physicality on defense. So yes, I think to kind of have an idea maybe what we're looking for, but then to find that combination of skills and athleticism isn't isn't as easy.
You mentioned just being back at home and just the pageantry of the Gold Rush and how cool that is, but also your first home game since the long winning streak was snapped. So how much pride do you guys take in stuff like that, just sort of protecting your home turf?
Well, that means everything. You know, I think being able to play, play for our fans and to be able to feed off our fans. I mean, we have a home field advantage, unlike many others, and you know, that's meant a lot to us. And until that North Dakota State game, in my time, we hadn't lost a home game. We had multiple games that had maybe come down to the fourth quarter, and we'd found a way. So to get that going again, to start from scratch here is where we're at. But yeah, it's our expectation that, you know, anytime a team comes in here, it's going to be challenging for them because of our crowd, because of the noise, because of the environment that we have, and on the flip side, we can, you know, hopefully feed off of that. But we talk a lot about it doesn't matter, you know, who we play, when we play, where we play. So, you know, that has to carry over. You know, our consistency, I guess, has to carry over to the road. But yeah, there is a sense of comfort when you play at home, and you do have some inherent advantages with the challenges that you know, our crowd creates for an opposing team.
CAA, obviously, an FCS conference, but there's so rarely crossover before the playoffs with schools out west. Do you have any experience against CAA teams during the regular season?
Yeah, regular season. Not that I can recall. Playoffs, I guess multiple teams. You know, I think for us to get this game, this was a couple years ago. I know since I was the head coach, we scheduled this game. So yeah, any opportunity we have to play a team from out east, we'll take it, because it is a good barometer of where we're at relative to that league. You know, because traditionally the CAA has been a really good league, and you know, I think now in my time, I think William & Mary would be the one team we did face, but you end up, you know, they're lurking in the playoffs. So, you know, but I know it's hard scheduling. You know, I think that's just a challenge that is clear at all levels, and you know, to get a team like Maine to come out here, we're excited about the opportunity and excited to see how we match up.
Yeah, I was going to say, it seems like that league, the sort of stereotype has been really good on the fronts. Hey, you mentioned that. Do you see that? Do you see that in Maine? Do they sort of look at the mold like that?
Yeah, and I think defensively it's absolutely their strength. I know offensively I've been impressed, and they certainly wanted to run the ball and you know, develop a run game against Colgate. You know, starting with Jahari running it, but behind you know, I think an offensive line that did a really good job, and they don't have as much. You know, that's a group, at least by years, isn't terribly experienced, but you know, I thought they did well in that first game, and you know, it was apparent that they wanted to establish the offensive line, you know, as far as a catalyst to be able to win that game. So yeah, I think that appears to be a strength of theirs, is both sides of the ball up front.